I was very young. I was 16, 17 years old. This was in the mid-90s. I needed money.
Welcome to the Voice of Visma podcast, where the heartbeat of our community comes to life. Join us as we chat with Visma leaders and colleagues, sharing their stories, industry insights, and valuable career lessons.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Voice of Visma podcast. I'm your host Diana Kiyoshi, and today I'm sitting down with Steffen Torp, our Chief Commercial Officer. Today we'll be talking about Steffen's personal story as an entrepreneur and also tapping into some surprising lessons that helped the Visma business over time. Steffen, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Before we start, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. As Seb mentioned, I'm Chief Commercial Officer in the Visma Group. I started in Visma actually in 2006, so that's a long time ago. And I've had a few various roles in Visma, in working in the finance department, in the R&D department. I started as a trainee actually. I've been also responsible for a couple of our segments, but small business, public sector, large customers, etc. I'm married. I have a son. He's 7 years old at the moment, or 8 years old actually. And I live in Oslo, in Norway.
I know that like many people in Visma, you started as an entrepreneur, and you also mentioned that. Can you tell us a bit about your journey?
Yeah, it was more I was forced to. Rather than wanting to, actually, in the beginning, because I was very young. I was 16, 17 years old. This was in the mid-90s. I needed money. And I didn't get a job at the local grocery store. But at the time, you needed no skills to make a website for people. So I just learned HTML, I think 1.1. 2.0.
By yourself?
Yeah, because it was really easy back then. And started just, the first ones that came along, I said, it's 50 euros. Second one, I said, it's 300 euros, etc., etc. And suddenly I had a little business for myself, which was, probably better, at least more flexible than working in the grocery store. So I was happy with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. But do you think that there was any hidden skills that you had and helped you, having the courage, the boldness to step into this?
I'd say the hidden skills were one thing, being a teenager and really needing the money. That was really important. And the second part was being not needing to sleep so much. So being able to sit up all night and work, find bugs, and still go to school the next day. I think that was probably the hidden skills. My teachers were complaining that I was sleeping a little bit too much in class, but at least it worked out in the end.
Of course it does. Yeah, that's really great. And I happen to know that from your story as an entrepreneur, you had a bit of a hustle with the not so fun part of the business of running a business.
Yeah. I already mentioned that I did this to make some money. So the first thing I did, of course, was I was trying to figure out how to send an invoice.
Okay.
And at the time, the most used software in Norway for invoicing was called Datax. It's actually a Visma software that we sunset that in 2012 in Visma. Great name for a software, actually. Data and tax in one word. Mm-hmm. So pretty good. I had some floppy disks and I installed it. I didn't understand anything of it. So I just gave up and put the numbers in a spreadsheet, probably even a Word document, printed it and sent the invoice. And that was smart at the time because I got money in the bank account. Now, 18 months later, I was supposed to file my taxes. And that hit me just one day, the day it was due, actually. And being just turned 18 years old and being a little bit scared of what does this mean?
Serious stuff.
Oh, yeah. This is, I suddenly felt very grown up. And I was wondering what happens if I don't do it. Like, do I get put to jail? Am I going to be fined? What happens? And that day, I even had a date with a girl. And I was sitting at home. I was looking at the deadline. We were going out in the evening, and then it was a party all night and things like that. Deadline was at midnight, so I really had to do it before I left home. And looked through all my invoices and my receipts, and I looked at the form. I didn't understand it. I called my economics professor or my economics teacher in secondary school, and he was in economics, not accounting, so he tried to give me some hints. In the end, I just put some numbers on the form and sent it in and hoped for the best, and that nobody would find the errors in it. And I left. I was actually 3 hours late for that date, and somehow that girl, I married her today. So it's I guess it was a don't stress test a relationship that early. That would be my advice.
Yeah, absolutely amazing story.
Yeah, but I was able to file it in, and I'm not sure why the errors were not uncovered. Maybe no one looked at it. Maybe they took it at trust value. I don't know. But yeah, I was able to do it anyway. I didn't like it.
No. But you get the job done.
Yeah.
I happen to know that you went from being afraid of filling these taxes to admittedly loving them. What sparked that change for you?
No, it was this was my experience in the 90s with paper forms and floppy disks, and it was and also being 18 years old probably didn't help a lot. And then in 2005-06, I have another business, and it was in e-commerce, and I was then looking for, how can I do this in a simpler way? Like, how can I just take an export of my database with all my invoices and just import it straight into the system? Because at the time it was a different type of business. So I don't know, it was thousands of invoices anyway, with all VAT stuff and different rules and everything. So I needed some kind of import. And also I was working remotely. I was working in Ireland. My business partner was in Norway. We had an accountant, I don't know, somewhere else in the world. And then I found a software called Economic. And that is actually also Visma software today. They joined the Visma group in 2015 and is the clear market leader in Denmark. But the reason why I picked it was because it was online and it was convenient and it looked easy to use. So I could sit down, there was an API, I could understand the software, I could follow it up from my part of the world with my business partner's part of the world, from our accountants. It was live. So that was a different type of way of working for me. So that's, at least, still didn't love it, but it was a big step up, at least in terms of convenience to me.
Absolutely. So having everything in one place, it was something important.
Yeah, I think that is, the entire convenience part, ease of use, being available anywhere. I think that is really important. And also the API part has, of course, transformed everything. Being able to just send the information from the system straight to the tax office, and getting it imported straight from the web shop into the system, etc. That has transformed everything. So even one time I was when I was in Ireland, one time I had to fax my tax papers to Norway in paper. So I mean, that was print it out, handwrite it, and then fax it afterwards. I'm glad we've come a long way since then.
Can you tell us a bit also what was your transition from like being an entrepreneur to actually stepping into Visma in the early phase?
Yeah, that was because at some point I was thinking that I had only worked with small businesses, like my own company, with friends. It felt a little bit like being a student still, in many ways. Long nights, not so serious. None of us had ever done a job interview before, so then I was going to join a big and serious company. So I found this company then that was headquartered in Northern Europe, in actually Norway. So I was thinking that, okay, I'll be closer to the action than to work for like a large American company or something where it's only a small country operation. So I wanted to work with something that was close, where I could influence it, understand how it worked. where I also thought that it's big enough so I can learn new skills, how to scale a big business, how to work in multiple countries, how to do a job interview, things like that. So that's how I picked Visma, and I wanted to work for a software company. And at the time, I also thought it was interesting because I'd already been acquainted with some of the Visma's software. I thought it was a little bit old-fashioned, to be honest, at the time in 2006. So I was thinking, okay, I'll stay there for a couple of years and then I'll do something else.
Explore some new horizons.
Yeah, exactly. That was the original plan, at least a long time ago. But I'm still here.
But you happened to meet also in a very entrepreneurial company, matching your entrepreneurial spirit.
I think that was the thing, is that, in hindsight, I'm actually a little bit disappointed. I wasn't able to go out again and work for myself again, and together with just a bunch of good friends and starting in new businesses. But on the other side, though, I was able to work for a larger company, a multinational company, where I was thinking when I started that I will learn how to run a big company, or how a big company is running, how good processes looks like, how to do good job interviews. And instead, I came to a really messy company. So I think it took I was in Visma 8 years before they discovered I didn't have a work contract. I was thinking I'll join a big company because of all the good processes. And instead, I came into a company where I was doing more job interviews in Visma than I was doing when I was running my own business. And you were just thrown into it. And then on top of it, when we needed to innovate, we weren't trying to. I studied in school, and I went to business school, studied economics, macroeconomics, things like that. But still, I had read up on innovation, and how innovation is, for at least large companies, is very difficult. And then I learned working in Visma that the way we have been working is to not try so hard to find out all the new ideas inside from the start, but rather look outside in the market and then find entrepreneurs in the market that has already discovered the innovations, but maybe a lot of them don't know how to scale it to the next level, and then come into Visma, and then we scale it together. And that was a new way of looking at it. So I was then able to work with all these really interesting entrepreneurs that had been way more successful than I was ever able to be myself, that I could ever dream of maybe becoming at for some stage. And I was able to just learn from what they were doing, look at what works, what does not work for a large company, but still maintain that, small company feel. And instead of working it's a combination of working for a large company, but still working for many small companies at the same time. So you can kind of decide what you want to do at the same time. Do I want to work for close to the business, close to the customer, close to the product where it's being made, or at the other side, how to scale this large company that is in 31 countries in a smart way. So that was the interesting challenge for me, and that's what made me stay for such a long time.
Such a big engine, and so complex sometimes.
Exactly, yeah.
Amazing. Taking you a bit back to the initial part, talking about your entrepreneurial story. Are there any takeaways, learnings that you can share for some aspiring entrepreneurs today?
I would say that most of my learnings have, of course, been from not my own experience, but watching all the successful ones that have joined Visma over the years. And what I have generally seen, just looking at it from the outside, is that the ones that are really successful are the ones that are standardizing a lot. So the ones that are thinking, this is how this business works. Because then you can, and the ones that are really successful in that, they don't only do what they think this is what this business is about, and we're not going to say yes to all the potential customers. We're going to, this is how this product and this company is working. But the ones who are also able to then inspire the people they're working with, so that you are not only having one entrepreneur running the company, but you actually have the entire company running on their own. And they are the ones that are really the most successful. So I think you need the number one in order to succeed, where you are focusing your business on, this is how we do stuff, and this is the standardized way of doing it. And then on the other side, also inspiring everyone in the workplace to pull in that direction. But then, of course, if you also counter my own experience into it, I would say I've been trying doing it all by myself, being the only employee, maybe having a couple of people that I work with on one hand side. And then I have all these problems like how to file the taxes, how to send an invoice, nobody to discuss with. Should I call my teacher? Should I call my dad? What should I do? Or later on, when I also had a business partner, we quarreled a lot. We were disagreeing about a lot, but actually working together with someone, that meant that it was right then and there, it gave me more frustrations. But in hindsight, I enjoyed it a lot more and I learned a lot more from it. And it was faster, it became bigger, it was more successful. So actually finding a good business partner, I think would be it's a lot more fun.
For a lot being the one lonely wolf on the run. Yep. Yeah. Great. Thank you for sharing that. Steffen, I have one more question for you. And we are closing soon then. You know that in Visma, we proudly declare ourselves champions of business software, right? What does that mean to you?
Well, if you run a business, there are so many different types of businesses. So, I mean, in some businesses, you need to have a bakery. In another type of business, you need to have you're an architect. In a third business, you're digging fiber optics with your digging machine. And you need various tools. What they all have in common is that at some stage, they actually use some software. And you can actually run a lot of businesses without having Photoshop. Or you can run a lot of business without even having a spreadsheet even. But you cannot actually run a business without invoicing your customers. If you don't invoice your customers, your business is going out of business. And you also need to pay your employees. So those are actually the two things that we do in Visma. It's the invoices and the pay slips that every business needs in order to be successful. And I think that is really important for multiple reasons. One thing is that the business has to survive. So, of course, you need to pay your employees, you need to pay you need to get your customers to pay you. That is really important. And all businesses needs it. And then the other side, for us, it's also about our, we are doing this also for society, where we are in the market. As long as, people are sending an invoice in the correct way, with VAT declarations, automated taxes, etc., that means also that the taxes, the trust in business, the trust in society increases and it improves. And that means that also what we are doing is then really important for the business owners, but it's also really important for everyone living in the countries where we operate. When it's easier to sell your services or your goods as an entrepreneur, including VAT, than it is to do it without VAT, that also means that the VAT is getting paid. It means that there is a broad tax base. It means that people are trusting that the other business owners and entrepreneurs are also doing this with VAT. They are paying their bills. They are paying their taxes. And that is actually smooth, well-functioning society. For me, I got a lot of this handed to me during my life. I mean, I went to free school. I went to university. I know for certain my parents couldn't definitely not afford to pay any tuition fee for me. My son is going to school. My wife is working in healthcare. And I think these services, I really appreciate them. And having that trust in society, having that, smoothness in the way we operate, we are really important infrastructure in society. And we also make it really easy for the business owners to operate. So I think that, that it shouldn't be difficult, like it was for me actually in the 90s, to do all these taxes and figuring out how to do an invoice. The more convenient that is, the better it is for the business owners, the better it is for the society we live in, and it increases trust in business and society. And I think that's what we are championing. We're championing smooth working societies, and we're also championing all the business owners and entrepreneurs that really wants to succeed.
Yeah, so true. Thank you for sharing. Steffen, I think we can call it to the end now. It was a really great pleasure talking to you today. Thank you for sharing so many lessons with us and insights from your experience, both at Visma but also as an entrepreneur. And I hope that maybe I can see you again in another podcast episode, or who knows. And I hope it was also a pleasure for you to be today with us, and thank you for saying yes to the invitation.
Thank you very much, Diana.
To our listeners, thank you for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope to see you also into our next episodes. Don't forget to follow us and subscribe to the Voice of Visma podcast platforms. See you next time. Thank you.